What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tidal Gardens. I know many of you guys have been looking forward to an update, so let's get into the October 2019 changes. For a little while there, progress has really stalled, and it wasn't any one party. It was 4 or 5 different groups of people that all had different delays. But strangely, it's all coming together at roughly the same time, so in the end, no individual delay was causing us that much of a headache either, because it was all happening all at once. A lot of the changes that we've made actually aren't visible. A lot of it is in the walls and stuff, but we'll go over some of those little stories and details. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so the first big change is that we have this kind of pergola structure built, and a lot of folks had some different ideas on how that we could have accomplished this, because we needed to have some sort of structure to hang the lights down onto our big Peninsula show tank. A lot of them were really good ideas, but there's one aspect of the design that we needed, which is the structure itself had to also conceal all the electronics. If you recall, we have quite a lot of these lights. So over this tank, there's going to be a dozen Radeon Pros. And that, again, comes with all of that wire management, and it comes with all those power supplies, plus the power strips to plug it all into, and I wanted all of that to be hidden. So we're going to be installing all those electronics into these channels, and there's this little power outlet kind of neatly hidden in the back there for just the 2 power strips to plug into. And the way that that's organized is it's 2 separate circuits. So the left half is 120 amp breaker, the other one is its own 20 amp breaker. So this next part I can't really show you that easily, but we pretty much had to do some major electrical modifications. So you can see that we've installed previously these chases, and in those are some plumbing for the different like heating and cooling lines, water lines, and whatnot. And I wanted enough room in there as a just in case we screwed up or wanted to expand out something later, that we would have those accessible. And it turns out that time is right now. In the past update video, we talked about how these lights didn't have anywhere near enough power available. They should have, they didn't. And we had to run for the entire building, if I had to guess, something like 22 separate circuits. And you can see that the lights are now plugged into those that are directly into the chase. That was not that fun, but again, that's why we did the chase, just in case. They're pretty full now, I have to admit. But I am glad that we did it, and now I know for a fact that down the line when we do the rest of this building and get all of those tanks situated one day, that they will have all the power they need for all the equipment. Oh, one other thing that we did was we finally got these lights hooked up to the reef link. There's 60 lights in total. In the last update, I talked about how the original overflows that came with the tanks had this non-removable ABS material going on here, and what I really wanted was a removable weir. So a little bit of a miscommunication there. I had to rip these guys out and then had to kind of wait a little while to get the replacements. That was a kind of a crazy story of its own. So first off, Felix had to then make the acrylic weirs that are removable, and then he shipped it. FedEx lost the shipment, just lost it. Then it took him a little bit of time to remake those acrylic replacements. Then Hurricane Dorian hit Florida, so there's more delays. Finally, I got them in place, and we can check it out here. They're pretty simple. It's a beefier material, which I like. And this is the removable section. If it was just one tank, I probably would have been okay just cleaning them in the water. This is the first time I've ever had removable weirs, but it comes to be a real pain in the butt when you have over 10 tanks. These things are going to get really, really cruddy. They're going to get corals growing on them even. So being able to periodically take these things out, soak them in acid, swap them out for a new one of these, it's going to be really nice for maintenance. And that's going to be a recurring theme as far as like how we've set stuff up here. A lot of it is maintenance minded. Okay, so as you can see, the plumber has been in here for the first time in a long time to start on the plumbing, finally, right? Here's where we've started to do the closed loops. Now, I've gone to closed loops mainly because of two reasons. One is I wanted to get all of my pumps out of the tank. Part of me was wondering if the noise and rattle that pumps can make in the tank is bothering like the fish and the coral. I don't know why I think that, but the way that sound travels underwater, I had a concern. So part of it was for the animals. The second part of it was for maintenance. We're going to be able to unhook all these unions if necessary to service all of this stuff outside of the tank. And that's why we've built these platform trays. They're about 2 inches high, so any spills should be pretty much contained in this little tub tray. Also, underneath, there's a fin, for lack of a better word, and that holds the tray in place and also gives it some rigidity, so it won't be bowing or anything like that underneath. There's going to be 2 Vectra L2s for each of the 300-gallon frag tanks. The show tanks, one of them is going to have 4 of these, and the other one is going to have 2. It's going to be a lower flow system. And it will also get some flow from the return pumps, which we're using Abyss 400s. Now, the Abyss is going to be distributed amongst about 5 aquariums. Plus, I wanted to also do a smaller manifold for skimmers and reactors and whatnot. So the drains, you can see here, it's these 3.5-inch drains for a being animal type overflow system. And they're going to meet into 3-inch plumbing for a central drainage. You can see the central 3-inch drain here. That's going to go all the way to the sump. This is going to be raised up off the ground by, this is a little bit over 1 inch tall. This is a stainless steel unistrut, and these come with like a clamping system. So both of our drain lines, that 3-inch drain line, and as well as the return line that's going to be probably like either 2 inch or 1.5 inches, something like that, going back into the tank, will all be clamped into place with these. So this will keep it off of the ground. It'll make it easier to clean, and it'll just be nice that it's all kind of a rigid structure. Here in the sump, you can see where the 3 drain lines are going to be coming back in. Again, those are 3 3-inch drains. The one of them is going to handle 2 of the frag tanks. The other one is going to handle the other 2 frag tanks. And the last one is going to handle the show tank that is located on the far wall. All of that is going to then get returned through the smaller 2-inch bulkhead on the far end, and that's going to be a Abyss 400 return pump. Here you can see the other side of the sump. Those are the 3-inch drains. The 2 left ones will be for the frag tanks. The right one is going to run over and against the wall to the show tank. From the sump, it's going to run against this wall, past all of this stuff here, under the sink against the wall, all the way over to the show tank here. One modification that we made to our water collection and purification setup is we added an MP60. Now, originally in the past video, we talked about having this thing stirred properly. And there's like mixing pumps, like the giant paddle stirrers and things like that. And I got a lot of grief about, oh, you weren't willing to spend like the $700 to get one of those mixing paddles. Well, the number was actually closer to $2,700 for the industrial mixing paddle. But worse yet, it wasn't the price at all. If you kind of like look around at this project, $700 does not move the needle very much. The problem that I was having with the mixing paddle solution was that I wasn't entirely convinced that it was good. And what do I mean by that? A lot of industrial marine application devices are good for marine because just in their very construction, they contain a lot of copper, because copper is very good at preventing creepy crawlies like barnacles and coral and whatever else from growing on the actual device. So a lot of stuff that you see that's like, oh, this is marine rated, is not something you actually want in your aquarium or in your makeup water. So that was kind of something that was going on through my head as far as like getting an industrial paddle mixer. So what I ended up doing, talked to Ecotech, I got an MP60. I was thinking about getting 2 of them at first. So far, we're gonna just see how one runs, because clearly what we were doing before wasn't gonna be stirring this thing up enough. We took a look at the bottom of this thing. After months of not properly stirring salt, there's a lot of deposits and residue at the bottom. So we thoroughly scrubbed this thing down, cleaned it out, and now we're stirring it properly, and also we're mixing in the salt at a much slower rate. So we might only put in 1 bucket every hour, hour and a half while it's always stirring. So far so good, but I think that when it comes time to do filling this whole thing back up with another 1,000 gallons and making salt, that every single time we might have to hose it out. Because again, all these deposits, and I don't even think it's so much salt specific. I think it's when you're running 6 buckets for every single time you're mixing, you're gonna get deposits. Anyhow, that's the story here. Hopefully one of these will do, because if you guys know how much MP60s are, they're not that cheap. I mean, even at wholesale, not that cheap. So fingers crossed, one will do the trick, but if not, then I'll add a second one on the other side, because again, this is 1,000 gallons that we're trying to mix up here. All right, guys, that gives you an idea of where we are currently as far as this project goes. Hopefully, the next time that you see an update, there will actually be water. Hopefully there will be other tanks here. So yeah, let's talk about next steps. I am not sure when my plumbers are gonna be here. So we kind of got relegated to weekends only sort of thing, and that might be only once a month weekend sort of thing. So luckily, at least, we have the materials here. He's gotten started on the plumbing, and like fingers crossed, by the end of this month, the plumbing for at least these 4 frag tanks that we currently have will be finished. The tentative schedule for us to go and fly down and get the remaining 6 aquariums is going to be in November sometime, fingers crossed. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a delay, because everything has been delayed. But it's cool, it's cool. We're talking about November. The thing that I'm most worried about is moving big show tanks into place. That's really the only thing that brings me huge anxiety, is just trying to move fragile 2,000-pound aquariums off of a truck. So we shall see. So anyways, hope you liked however brief this update was. Hope your tanks are going well. And until next time, happy reefing. See you later.